I can see a lot of familiar names, so thank you. Welcome back. Thank you for joining in this session, in the third session of Management with Movies. And this time we have a new guest with us who's going to take us through. So before I introduce the guest, I would like to again introduce Square Sequel and what Management through Movies is. As trainers, as a consultancy, we have regularly used examples, movie clippings, etc., to show in our training programs what it actually means to learn from something that's already happened or something that's already been created. So we've used movies as a dearth of information throughout our training programs, and we decided in this to do this pandemic era, we decided that why not take it outside the training room, and why not just pick a movie and see what we can learn from each and every one. Believe me, even any movie, be it comedy, be it this thing, there is some or the other thing that you can always pick and learn from it. So we created this initiative called Management through Movies. It is sponsored by Square Sequel Consulting, which is 13 years in this industry. 14th would be very soon. And yes, a disclaimer, we at Square Sequel, we're not recommending or we're not reviewing the movies. All we're telling you is what is it that we learned from these movies. Okay. So without me taking much more of your time, once again, welcome. Thank you for joining in. I am here to introduce Mr. Arvind Mishra. He's a long-time associate of Square Sequel of us. He's I wouldn't have a lot of words, but he is a design thinking master practitioner. He's an excellent coach. He's been training for many years. And over to you, Arvind. Thank you so much for joining and doing this for us. So yeah, over to you.
Thank you, Zoya, for such a fantastic introduction and setting up the tone for today's session. And namaskar to all the participants, and I welcome you all on behalf of Square Sequel. And without taking much of a time, let's start with today's movies. And the name of the movie is Night at the Museum. And Night at the Museum, as you all know, it's a movie by Disney. It's streaming on Disney Plus Hotstar. So before I start this discussion of Night at the Museum, I'd like to ask all of you, how many of you have seen the movie, first of all? Can we have it on the chat box quickly? A quick response on the chat box. Let's have some energy. How many of you have seen this movie? Okay, as I can see, Monica has said yes. Yes. Khushbu says yes, she has. Okay. Okay, Zoya also says she has. Rajesh says he hasn't seen the movie. Neha said he has seen. Okay, great. In fact, this movie was released in the year 2006 when I was working with Bharti Airtel, and I still remember watching this movie in the hall. And I actually liked that movie. And but I never thought that I'm going to discuss it along with the experts as to what this movie has ever taught us. So going ahead, yes, great. So going ahead, if you talk about this movie, so why we chose this movie? Because last time when we had a poll, so lots of people said that one of the most important topic of discussion was conflict resolution, which can be taken up by this session of Management through Movies. So we have taken this movie because it has got lots of conflict resolution. Why conflict resolution is there? Because as you all understand, it's very basic, that conflict is a friction developed with the difference of opinion of approach between two individuals. And how come the resolution comes? By better understanding of belief, attitude, and behavior of each other, right? So this is how we can have a better conflict resolution, or rather even prevention of conflict, right? So we'll go ahead with this. And before I start this movie, I will go to a particular thought process why a movie has been made. And there's a particular philosophy which is behind all the movies. That's philosophy, the guiding principle. Because when the writer thinks of writing a story of the movie, the writer has got a particular thought process which he wants to share with the entire world. There's a particular philosophy which he wants to share with the entire people outside his world as to what this movie or what is the statement he wants to make. For instance, if we talk about the grand old movie of Indian history called Mughal-e-Azam, you must have heard the name of the movie Mughal-e-Azam. So Mughal-e-Azam has got a very strong philosophy, and that strong philosophy was there in the lyrics of his songs. Okay, and the philosophy was about fearless love. Fearless love says कि बंदा नहीं पर्दा नहीं जब कोई खुदा से बंदों से पर्दा करना क्या. If we are not afraid of God, then why should we be afraid of human beings? The प्यार किया तो डरना क्या, right? So that was the philosophy, that was the guiding principle of the movie Mughal-e-Azam, and which says कि we should have a fearless love. प्यार किया तो डरना क्या. That was the philosophy of Mughal-e-Azam. Similarly, we had another movie, which is the name of the movie is Chak De India. So Chak De India, the philosophy was teamwork. As we can all remember, most of us have seen this movie called Chak De India. In the movie, there was a dialogue by Shah Rukh Khan कि मुझे इंडिया की हॉकी नेशनल टीम का सिलेक्शन करना है. जिन स्टेट्स और सर्विसेज के नाम सुनाई नहीं देते हैं, मुझे उनके लोगों को नहीं खिलाना है. If someone is interested in playing for India, then raise his or her hand. Right? So it was about the teamwork. So the guiding principle of philosophy. The guiding principle of philosophy was teamwork for Chak De India. So to understand this philosophy, I'll just have some interactions with you. I'm going to tell you the name of a movie, and you will have to tell me the guiding principle of philosophy behind it. Let's have a small exercise before we move ahead to get the philosophy or guiding principle of this movie. So the name of the movie which I'm going to tell you is Lagan. Lagan is the name of the movie. You have to write in the chat box what is the philosophy of this movie or the guiding principle, so that I can understand this has been okay. As I can see, Monica says resilience. Okay, yes. If you can, it'll be fantastic if someone can share any dialogue or a song which tells about that a particular philosophy. Neha says yes, teamwork. Yes, teamwork, because in fact a movie has got lots of learnings out of it. But there's a main and a focus learning, which is the center part of the, which you can say the vertebra of that particular movie. Freedom, yes, freedom. Khushbu says yes. For freedom, anyone can do anything. Great, great. Good participation. Some more participation for Lagan. I can give you a tip. If you remember the song of a movie, there was a song of the movie, and that song was saying the philosophy of the guiding principle. In fact, if you have to understand and look at the philosophy, most of the time that philosophy there is one of the most famous dialogues of the movie. Or perhaps many a times it's in the song of a movie as well. Coordination, yes, Srinivasan. Collaboration, yes, collaboration. Srinivasan says, good guidance and presence of mind, yes. Monica said, is it the song Barso? There's a song Barso, or there's a lines of the song are something like this. सच और साहस है जिसके मन में जीत उसी की होए. Right? Yes. The movie says if you have got the truth and the courage to carry that truth along with you, no one can defeat you. Many other times, the people who are having the truth are not courageous enough. Right? Honesty, hard work, and courage. So that is the philosophy and guiding principle of the movie called Lagan. Another exercise before I move ahead. There's a famous movie called Three Idiots. What's the philosophy of this movie? Three Idiots. This is an easy one. I think you will get it. Philosophy of the movie Three Idiots. It has got a famous dialogue as well.
I think the dialogue was that you don't have to run behind the success. The success will come after you if you have, if you have the right skills and attitude. I just sort of vaguely remember it.
Yes, Neha, you got the
yes. Arvind, padhaku mat bano, kabil bano.
Yes, Rajesh. I think you guys are getting it right. So the exact dialogue was something like this: कि काबिल बनो, सफलता के पीछे मत भागो. काबिल बनोगे तो सफलता झक मार के तुम्हारे पीछे आएगी. Right? So right, Rajesh, right, Neha, that was a bullseye. So I think you got it right. I think I can definitely move ahead. Just for an exercise, there was another movie by the name of Anand. Anyone remembers that movie, Anand?
Rajesh Khanna's movie on the...
Yes.
So anyone can tell me about the philosophy of that movie?
बाबू मोशाय से मौत तो एक दिन आनी है.
क्या बात है.
उससे क्या डरना.
Yeah, it was like ये पूरी दुनिया रंगमंच है और हम सब अलग-अलग
characters
हैं. That was the dialogue.
That was fantastic. Yeah, I'll definitely bullseye Rajesh and yeah, that dialogue something like this कि हम ये दुनिया एक रंगमंच है बाबू बशायर ये दुनिया एक रंगमंच है हम सभी इस रंगमंच की कठपुतलियां हैं और सबकी डोर ऊपर वाले के हाथ में है कब कौन कहाँ उठ जाएगा ये किसी को पता नहीं है and that was it right so great Rajesh and great Neha I think that makes it very clear what is the philosophy and guiding principle behind it so that's basically the writer's privilege the writer जो होता है लेखक होता है he designed this and the philosophy for this movie Night in the Museum is some men are born great others have greatness thrust upon them or we can see some men are born with the idea that they have to become great. Someone like Sachin Tendulkar, he always had in his mind that he has to become great. But a few look for the opportunities. They grab upon the opportunities. There is a particular situation or circumstance come when these people grab upon that opportunity and go for the greatness. So someone like Mahendra Singh Dhoni, he never thought that he's going to be great. Many a times he in fact waited for lots of time to get into the Indian national team. But the moment he got that opportunity of playing against Pakistan, just the greatness was thrust upon him and he got that century. And with the help of his wicket keeping skills and his knowledge of cricket, he became the captain of the country. And we all know when he is retired, we got a seat fixed for him at Wankhede where he hit the winning six for Indian World Cup campaign. So some men are born great and others have greatness thrust upon them. The moment they get an opportunity, the moment they get a circumstances which is favorable for them, they just grab upon that and become great. So this is the guiding principle of philosophy of this movie, right? So we move ahead with the storyline of this movie. So to understand the storyline of the movie, I'm going to divide the storyline of the movie into four different parts. First part is going to be before our hero, as the name suggests, Night at the Museum. So I'll tell you, Mr. Larry, the role has been played by our friend, Mr. Ben Stiller. The Larry Deley, who is the main protagonist, the main hero, he takes a job of a guard at the Night Museum, right? So I'm going to divide this story of the movie into four parts. First part is before he gets the job. Then second part, first day, or rather it's a night, the first night of his job. The second part is second night of his job. And the third part is third night of his job. So the fourth part is third night of his job, right? So before he got the job, first night, second night, and third night. So I'm going to decide this story into three parts. The before he got the job of a night guard. So background says that Larry, the role is being played by Ben Stiller, thinks that he's destined for something big, but his imaginative ideas never pay off. And so far so that he loses his business, fails in his marriage, and is on the verge of losing his 11 years old son. So the age of the son can be 11 or 9 or 10. So don't get into the right facts to those details. He almost is on the verge of losing his son, and he loves his son very much. He's very dear to him. He has been perceived as a careless and irresponsible human being because most of his imaginative ideas were not in line and not in accordance with the normal thought process. So he has been perceived as a careless and irresponsible human being, which actually he is not, right? So to prove everyone wrong and for the love and care of his son, he joins as a night guard in the museum, right? So when he joins as a night guard in the museum, so that is something before he joins. Now, he gets a job and he joins. So when he joins the night guard as a night guard, the night one when he reaches there, or rather in the evening when he reaches there, he has been given an instruction manual. So instruction manual is not very well explained to him, and he joins that museum, and that museum has got very good collections. In fact, it was a very grand museum. It has got collections of lots and lots of historians. There were wax statues of historians, historical heroes. There were wax statues of animals. There were stuffed animals of African subcontinent. Not only that, there was the water kingdom as well. There was a skeleton of a dinosaur as well. There are Tyrannosaurus as well. There were ancient tribes there as well, like Huns and Roman Empire. So they were all assembled in one museum, and that was approximately 3 to 4 story museum. It was a grand museum, but it was not just another museum. There was an Egyptian curse in the museum, And because of that Egyptian curse, during the nights, all the statues, all the animals, all the historians, all the dinosaurs used to spring to life. They used to become live. Yes, just imagine a dinosaur or an elephant or a lion or a monkey or Galileo or Columbus or President Roosevelt roaming around inside the museum, and the monkeys running from one place to other, and the Roman soldiers fighting amongst each other. Just think about that museum, what that museum is going to be like. So that was something which was not been told to our protagonist, Mr. Larry DeLay. And the moment the night comes, the dinosaur becomes active and throws a bone at throws a bone at the hero. And obviously, you can understand what kind of feeling he might get. He was shivering to the core. Obviously, no one expects the statues to come to life. And soon he recovers that the job which he has got is not very usual. It is a very unusual job. And soon he discovers why most of the people are not ready to do the job, because it was not easy to understand and handle all those kinds of animals, all those kinds of old historians, all historic heroes, all those ancient tribes, because the Huns, as you all know, Huns are known for tearing the people apart, and they were just already, anyone who they were watching there, or they were seeing through, they coming through, they were just ready to tear him apart. So there was something which was very unusual, and our protagonist, Mr. Larry DeLay, got a taste of his job at the first night. And when he was going through all this problem, everything was out of control for him. So when he was going through all this problem, he met his mentor, right? And his mentor was the wax statue of President Roosevelt. And that statue told him, educated him about one very important thing. And those important things are there in terms of these three learnings. And the mentor, the president's statue told him three things. He said, I'm made up of wax. What are you made up of? Right? If I can correct the things, then you can definitely do it. Then he said the same, the philosophy of this movie, some men are brown gate, others have greatness thrust upon them. This he said when our protagonist, Mr. Larry, said that this is the last day I'm going to work. From tomorrow onwards, I'm not going to come. So then President says, this is your moment of greatness. And the third thing he said, nothing is impossible. That can be dreamt, can be done, right? So these are the three things the mentor said. And along with this learning, he said this is the first day. I'm going to take care of the proceedings. I'm going to make the proceedings normal. From tomorrow, you have to take care of that, right? So that was night one. And then came night two. On night two, Mr. Larry came with his preparations. He read the instruction manual well, and he also went through a few learnings, and he had his plan. But do all the plans succeed? Initially, he succeeded. A few plans went well, but when all the animals and everyone came out in the museum, his plan started to go haywire. And it went so bad, so bad, that a few of the statues, when they sprang back to life, went out of the museum. And the worst part was that a part of the curse, of the Egyptian curse, was that any statue or any animal which goes out of the museum, and if that statue or the animal sees the sunlight, it will be turned into ashes. And one of the statue turned into ash. And morning, the next day, then when the director of the museums came to the museum and saw that one of the statue has been turned to ashes, or one of the statues is missing, it was all left, right, center firing up Mr. Larry. And apart from that, at the same time, Larry's son, who was very curious about the father's new job, he thought of giving a surprise to his father. And along with his friends, he visited the museum. And while he was there, he heard that his father was being scolded and was being rebuked and was being reprimanded by the boss. And so on, so off, that he was being asked to leave. He was being fired. The son felt very disgusted, left the place at the same time, and went back home with the perception that the job which my father is doing is not good enough. And even that job he has lost. That is a different thing when later on Larry asked the owner of the museum to give him one more chance, and he went back to his home. His son was furious. And then he tried to explain to his son, but his son didn't understand that didn't understood even a single thing. Then he said, okay, son, I'm not going to explain you anything. I'm going to show it to you. And he carries his son along with him in the third night. And what happens for the third night? That Egyptian curse was there because of a tablet, which was because of golden tablet. And the guards who were working there earlier, they actually stole that tablet, and nothing happened. And he was initially was made to be Larry was making a very sorry figure in front of his son as nothing was happening. And somehow they came to know that it has been stolen. Then they run after the old guards. They activate it, and again everyone comes to life. And this time the purpose was bigger. The purpose was about the survival of the museum, survival of all the animals and all the historians and every wax statue. And because of the bigger purpose and bigger survival, and this time Larry becomes a leader. He evolves as a leader. He takes the help of his mentor and makes a team and creates a team with the help of the team. He doesn't only catches the people who stole the tablet, but also makes a very good impression of his own self in his son's mind. And the third day, and that was the third night, which was most instrumental, and he was able to attain whatever he wanted to do, and he actually oriented the entire team of museum, entire every creature of the museum for a particular goal in a particular direction. And as a consequence of which, he was actually he was able to attain the greatness in the eyes of his own son. And then that was a happy ending when he got the control of each and every creature, and all the animals and everything started to behave in the right way, right? So that was a very happy ending to it for the third day, and that's how the movie ended. So this is the entire storyline. So if we try to associate this story of Night at the Museum with a person who joins his office the first day. So when you join an office the first day, you come across lots and lots of people, lots and lots different kind of people. And each one of them has got a different approach because they've got a different belief, they've got a different behavior, they've got a different attitude. And they're different kind of human beings. So the person who enters the office for the first day, he joins an office for the first day, he has to face all these kinds of people. So if you want to understand them better, there's one very important thing which we learned from this movie, that was about the human behavior. So to understand about the human behavior, this slide is there which tells about a very basic thing. On the x-axis, I have plotted human behavior as friendly and hostile. On the top, it's hostile, and in the bottom, it's friendly. On the y-axis, its left is active, and the right side is passive. So there are four basic human behaviors. One is governor, second is stirrer, third is intruder, and fourth is investigator. So if we talk about governor, governor is someone who is active but hostile, right? Because it is an intersection of hostile and active. So governor is something like if you go and meet a governor, he will say something like, hi, what brings you here, right? So then other person is stirrer. Stirrer is someone who is active but is friendly. So stirrer will say something like, hi, it's been a great time that I haven't seen you. How are you? I think the life has been good with you. So he's friendly and he's active. Then third is includer, friendly and passive. This guy is something like he doesn't believe very easily. He doesn't have faith easily. But with the passage of time, if you tell him that you are an expert and you've got the right kind of knowledge, you can definitely take him to be better, right? And then the fourth one is the investigator. This guy is passive but very hostile. He won't say much thing to you, but he will definitely investigate lots of things. He will be the person who is going to look after the facts, figures, and data, right? So these are four kind of basic human behaviors which are present there, and we'll now see as to what are the different characters of this movie who are there as governors, stirrers, includer, and investigator, right? So let's have the governor first of all. These governors are aggressive, dominant, and ruthless. And as there was said about the lions in the movie, President Roosevelt, who was a mentor of Larry, he told him, lions are very dangerous and they don't have any regard for anyone. You better close them or you stay away from them. Otherwise, they're going to eat you up, right? So these are the governors. And the other example of governor in this movie were the Huns. These Huns were actually very, as we all understand, Huns are the fighting tribe. They are the tribes which just go and kill and plunder and go kill and plunder and destroy everything that comes across, right? So these governors are basically goal-oriented and competitive. They just want to carry their own goals, and they are competitive. And for them, result is more important than the relationship. For a lion, hunger is more important than any kind of relationship. For Huns, their victory is more important than any kind of relationship, right? Then how to influence them? Approach them only if full prepared. On day 1 and day 2, he was actually terrified of both of them. But in day 3, he was fully prepared. He locked the lions, and for the Huns, he studied, our hero Larry studied the entire history of Huns, and he studied that all the Huns, when they are child, they had been deprived of love. They are being sent to army for the training. So he explained those things that I can understand that you guys have, you guys need a love. You people have been deprived of love right from your childhood. And if I can give you love, if I can give you emotions, then you can definitely fight for me, right? So since he was fully prepared, he was able to win their heart, and Hans actually helped him a lot on the 3rd day in winning over the culprits, right? So this is how he resolved this conflict of interest with the governors, where he approached them when fully prepared with the help of his efficiency, and he actually took advantage of his competitive streak on the 3rd day when he shouted with the Huns with the equal voice with the equal voice and with the equal sound with which Hans was shouting, right? So he was very competitive on the 3rd day and prepared as well. So he was prepared and competitive only because he was able to learn and have more knowledge about Hans, right? So these are the governors. So this is how you can deal with the governors. The second are the stirrers. Who are they? Stirrers are those people who value relationship, who are very interactive, right? So this playful Raxi, who is a skeleton of a dinosaur, this was very friendly with our protagonist Larry right from the first day. Actually, he threw a bone at him, and he was just trying to play with him. And every time Larry used to throw the bone in other direction, this dinosaur used to run towards the direction and carry the bone back. And this was the play for him. So stirrers are the people who wants to play with you, who wants to have nice relationship with you, who are very interactive with you. So how can you influence them? You can appreciate them. For them, you don't have to focus on much on facts and figures, and you have to emphasize on just going on with the relationship. And this is what Larry did with this dinosaur. And at the end of this dinosaur actually caught obviously dinosaurs run very fast, and he ran fast and got hold of the person who actually stole the golden Egyptian tablet, right? So this is how he dealt with the stirrer, right? Then the fourth behavior was about the includer, and that was the silent gum character which was there. And these kind of people, they are very silent. They value relationship, but they are less reactive. They are very less interactive. They take lots of time. In fact, they are very indecisive as well. How you can influence them? You can influence them by taking time, by establishing rapport, and take a role of an expert. On the day 1 and day 2, this Gangam was not interacting with Larry quite a lot. It was only on day 3 when he exhibited himself as an expert. This fellow Gam actually helped him out, and when everything was going in the wrong direction, he shouted and for attendance and for silence and said, "Please listen to Larry." And his sound was visible and heard and was visible for everyone. And after his attention, everyone started to listen to Larry, right? So this was how he was able to, Larry, our protagonist, was able to establish this rapport with Gum. And the fourth is the investigator. Investigator was a guide whose name was Skagiva. And Skagiva was, in the stories, it is held to be the guide who actually guided Columbus to find America, right? So who are the investigators? These are the people who love data, facts, and figures. They stick on their deadlines. That was our guide Skagiva did. How to influence them? Never rush with them. You should never be at hurry with them. Do your research, because these people love data, facts, and figures. You should always do your research and then approach them. And never make high level claims. Never talk big mouth in front of them. Just stick to your data, facts, and figures, and provide detailed information with them to them. Right. So that's what Larry did on day 3 when he studied a lot about everyone. He was able to take help from Iskagewa, and Iskagewa was the one who actually told Larry as to in which direction the thief has actually gone. Right, and it was only because of her knowledge and because of her expertise, Larry was able to catch the thief. Right, so these are the 4 basic human behaviors, 4 kind of human behaviors which you can definitely find in your organization or around you, and this is how you can actually deal with them. Right, so these are the 4 people. Then apart from these, there are few more kind of people which you come across which you have to deal with. And number 1 is the people who are driving their personal agenda. Right, so there are people in every office, every organization, every place who have got nothing to do with the welfare of the organization. They've got nothing to do with the welfare of the employees. The only thing is that they are looking on their personal welfare. These characters looks for their own welfare. And there were 3 such characters in this movie. And they were the 3 old guards of the museum. And their welfare was that when, because of this Egyptian power, these wax statues are coming to their life. So because of the energy of that power, these old people were actually getting their youth in the night as well. So all these old people were becoming young during the nights, and they just don't wanted to get away with their youth which they were getting in the night. So that was the reason they were trying to snatch or steal this Egyptian tablet. Right, so these are the kind of people who are driving their personal agenda. The only thing how can you have to deal with them is that you have to take care of them, you have to catch them and punish them, or just have to ask them to leave the place. Right, so there's no other option how to deal with them but to ask them to leave the place. And that's what our hero did. He actually caught them and handed them over to the police. Right, and there are other people, other problems which we face in our organizations is something like consistent pesters. There are certain people who are miniatures, very small in size. They are routine operational problems, and they were been presented in these movies by a small miniature of a Roman Empire and the vindictive and the victim vindictive opponent. And these small creatures or miniatures represent small operational problems which, if not tackled timely, can consume lots of time and energy. So what to do in that case? For that, you have to create a bigger goal, align day-to-day issues in accordance, and plan the time and activity accordingly. All these small operational problems will fall in place. But if you don't take care of these small operational problems, then they will keep yourself occupied and busy in day-to-day activities, and you will not be able to move further or plan anything big. So these are the miniatures who are representing the consistent pesters or the small operation problems which an individual or an organization faces in their day-to-day life. And then the third thing, which is most important, was the character of a special talent, or you can say a trump card. This we can also say that it is a kind of ace card, which is a kind of a trick in the sleeve. And this we don't use in daily routine. It can be only used when you are in some problem or we want to have something great. So it can be a very effective surprise and a power booster. So this was nothing but a mummy. So in that museum, there was a mummy of Pharaoh. And the mummy of a Pharaoh, when he was being revealed and came out of the mummy, he actually came out with lots of power. He came out with the powers to control the tabloid. And with the help of this power of this tabloid, our protagonist, our hero, Mr. Larry, was able to take care of the entire procedures on the third night. So this is the ace card. This has been shown in this movie that these ace cards are only to be used when required. Otherwise, they are not to be used in daily proceedings. Right? So these are the ace cards, or you can say the trump card. And just the way we don't use trump card in every instant or day, so similarly we don't use trump card here also. And he was being used, and he actually gave the booster or the power to Harry to take care of the entire proceedings. And last but not the least, the self-development is the key to success. And this was being told to Harry by the mentor himself. And it was only when he studied about the history and about each and every of those statues, he was able to gain control of them. And this was evident in the last scene of the movie when Harry was on the horse, and the thief, or who was the last, who was the third guard, his name was Cecil. He was riding on a chariot, and that chariot was been driven by horses, and these horses were unstoppable, and they were being trained never to stop until and unless they were being stopped by a secret word, and that secret word was Dakota. And the moment Larry, our hero, pronounced that word Dakota, all the horses came to the standstill. And just in case, if Harry wouldn't have pronounced that word Dakota, so probably the horses would never have stopped, and the daytime would have arrived, and each and every creature would have turned into ashes, despite all the help which was given to or by all the creatures to our hero. Right? So information and knowledge and development is the key to success. It was the last word Dakota which actually helped our protagonist, Mr. Larry, to actually take care of the entire proceedings, right? So this was how he took control of everything. And after day 3, when he actually controlled all the animals, he knew every instructions, and he was in charge of the new knowledge, and every conflict was resolved. The life became a party, and the mission was accomplished. And since thereon, every night was a night to remember, and everything went very well in that museum. And not only that, after the third night, when the animals went out, especially the dinosaur, it left its imprint or the footprint on the snow or the ice. And there were lots of animals which were captured in the cameras in that city. And there were the next day in the news, there was that National Museum has something unusual about it. And all those people who were not coming to the museum, they actually become very curious, and they all came to the museum, and the customer traffic and the visitor traffic at the museum again started to happen, and museum started to get into profits. So that was a happy ending, and the happy ending happened because of the conflict resolution, because of the understanding of all the characters by the hero. And after the understanding, he was able to guide them and take control of them in that particular manner, and hence the mission was accomplished, and then it was a party time. And here is how this movie ends, and my presentation ends as well. So now is the questions time. Anything which has to be re-explained, or any question from any of the participants? You can also type your questions in the chat box, and you can also ask the questions by coming over the camera. Any questions? As I can see that there are lots of movies, lots of people who have seen this movie as well. Monica, I think you have seen the movie.
Yes.
So what's your take on the movie? Do you remember anything?
Yeah, I think it's quite quite often played on Star movies.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, and what I okay, so from the point of the movie and understanding it and trying to learn from it, if the protagonist is a loner actually, for me, and him trying to socialize, learn to collaborate with different people who have different agendas, was very, very impressive.
Right.
So for me, him trying to talk to that Indian girl and understanding, how things work, Dum Dum obviously, and the president was a great thing. And trying to manage the monkey was like, always you will see there's one person who will who will communicate very, very differently and bring in trouble to the team. So I thought the way you put it, for me, it was more about collaboration, but the way you brought in conflict was a different perspective, which is very nice for me.
Thank you, Monica. In fact, to take away, to carry on with what Monica has just mentioned, there was a monkey also there. And that monkey was used to be very clever. He used to be just take away the keys sometimes. So in an organization also, you'll find such people who are there ready to pester you every time. They are just making joke at you and the people are laughing at it, right? So Monica, if you can remember, what mentor Mr. President said, told Larry about it was that there are certain people who are to be avoided. You don't have to fight with them. Only you have to give respect to them. And Larry, as soon as President gave respect to the monkey actually handed over the keys. So that was again a kind of taking care of the people, what people are actually looking for. So otherwise, if you slap the monkey was slapping back, right?
Yeah.
So you have to take care of the people, the emotions of the people. You have to understand them. Empathy becomes a very strong emotion when you come for a conflict resolution. Thank you, Monica, for the input. So Neha says, thanks a lot. That was an amazing session. Thank you, Neha. So any questions? Any query? I think there's not much of a query. And
yeah, it was very well explained. So I don't really have any questions. In fact, I think it's nice that you all have taken the results of last time's poll and you've taken a movie on this theme of conflict resolution. So I definitely learned a few lessons out of it today. What I understand is that self-development is something which is important, and you need to keep upgrading yourself. So like the way he kept reading about all of them, and then he knew towards the end that Dakuta is the word that he has to use. Similarly, I think somewhere we have to keep learning, keep coding, decoding, and navigating our path through success in life. So that's the take I have. Thank you so much for taking this up. I really appreciate it.
And there's a very important thing which I like to illustrate here is that when there are two kinds of people that you understand, proactive and reactive. Reactive people work as per the records, as per the data, as per the trends, as per the people response. But proactive people work as per the imagination. And this guy was someone who was working as per his imagination. He wanted to be great. He just was not working as per the data, records, and figures. So that's why he was able to do that.
Hi, Arvind. Hi, Arvind. Thank you very much for this session. Further, I want to understand why this word is very ruthless for very simple people in any organization, and why this very honest and intelligent people always targeted to be in lot of organization across the globe.
The word where I've used this word ruthless is for governance. Why I've used this word ruthless for governance? Because if you look at the first picture before that, the governors are basically people who are hostile on the x-axis and they are active. So they are much worried about their own targets, their own job to be done, and they don't care about the human emotions. So that's why they're called ruthless. So don't take ruthless as something to be cruel or wicked. It's something about that these people are not they get less importance to the relations and more to the targets. Otherwise, as far as the honesty is concerned, yes, honest people, they have to try harder, definitely, because they don't go for the shortcuts. They actually go for the long cuts in the proper way, and which is more difficult. But in the longer time, if you see, it's always more fruitful and more yielding. But along with the truth, they have to have the courage as well. The worst thing is that truthful people are less courageous. They are less patient.
Thanks, Arvind. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rajesh. Thank you. So that was nice. Thank you, Rajesh. Thank you, Sushil. Thank you, Zoya. Thank you, Monica.
Thanks, Zoya. Thanks, Neha. Thanks, Monica. Thanks, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Thank you. Thank you.
So thank you everyone for joining in. Thank you, Arvind. That was a lovely session. I think the perspective you've shared. I think now I believe now henceforth I'm going to be watching movies not looking for entertainment, but I think learning. So thank you so much, and thank you everybody for joining in.
Zoya, last but not least, please can you send the recording for this session?
Will be up on our YouTube channel. I shall. So we will be putting up the entire video on our YouTube channel. In fact, the last two movie management movie sessions are also up there. So you can feel free to search for Jimmy Jain on YouTube. And in fact, let me share the link for our YouTube channel with you here. Just give me a second.
I'm sure most of you will definitely watch this movie.
So it will definitely be up right after this session. Say by tonight, it will be up on our YouTube channel, and you can all have a look at it for sure.
Thanks, Zoya. Thank you. Thanks you very much. Thank you, Arvind. Thanks, Monica. Thanks, Neha. Thank you everyone for joining this session.
Namaste everyone. Thank you for joining.
Namaste, Zoya.
Bye.
Namaste, Zoya. Once again, namaste.
You all have a good evening. Thank you.
Thanks, Monica.